Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. An important question comes about with regards to asking for a ruling, asking a question to someone that's qualified. You have to understand that the people that you come across, well, let's start with classically. You're going to have what's called a Qadhi, this judge of the true Muslim government, in which what he says, for example, will be binding on you, which does not exist today. And then you have a Mufti, which they've always existed, not as much today as before, but they still exist. And you'll have the Mufti for each school, for the Hanafis, for the Malikis, for the Shafis, for the Hanbalis. And then you have others that might be advanced students of knowledge, for example, that have know-how but maybe aren't necessarily qualified to give you a ruling. Now, when you study the works like Al-Ashmawiyya and Al-Akhdari, Murshid al-Mu'in, Risala, Ashal Masalik, all these works, Khalil, these really just give you the theory. But when you actually want to apply it or apply these things, it might not be as exact, right? Especially if you have your own personal situation that came about. So you would ask this qualified Mufti, and he might not even necessarily stick to the mashhur when he gives this ruling, right? It'll be binding upon you. But going back just quickly about the difference between the Qadhi and the Mufti, the Qadhi, you absolutely have to do what he says. With regards to the Mufti, it's binding on you, but no one can really make you follow that Mufti technically, today anyway. So that's something to keep in mind. So when you ask this Mufti, this qualified Mufti, and for our purposes, what school you follow, you're going to ask a Mufti of your school. And these people are going to be really limited today, right? And your local imam, for example, most likely won't be a Mufti. In our cases, they might not even be advanced students of knowledge. And many times, it's really sad to have to say that, but that's the case. Anyway, so depending on where you're at, you probably take in a work or two, some of these shorter texts. It doesn't mean that you really know how to apply, especially when things aren't as exact. Things go out of the normal circumstances, in which then you would have to ask someone qualified, and then the ruling is given depending on your where you live, possibly your different circumstance for yourself. So in that ruling that Mufti gives is binding on you, but isn't necessarily binding on anybody else, because there's different circumstances, right? Unless they somehow clarify that they're giving a ruling, based on the madhab, for example, and everyone that would happen to be in the same circumstances. But even then, you couldn't just take and this was the problem actually, with following the fatawa or the fatawi of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, where it's a fatwa for a particular person or place and so on, and then you want to, especially, it's 600 years ago, 700 years ago now, and you want to apply those today, for example, right? And he was Hanbali as well, so are they limited for the Hanabila, and was it limited to that time? There's so many things to consider with regards to a fatwa. Anyway, more can be said, but you understand that there are, it's not as clear, especially when you want to apply what you learn. But right now you have to understand that you have to take the theory, right? And hopefully, inshallah, with the right intention and work, you can be a Mufti, or not. It's a big responsibility. And most people you meet aren't, even going to be close to the level of a mufti. But just make sure to differentiate between the Qadhi and the Mufti, and maybe an advanced student of knowledge, for example. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Also, Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.